In this video, I'm going to be covering our entire automated go-to-market playbook. This is going to cover everything from research and development to list building to messaging, email infrastructure, and then how we're actually actioning on the data and the assets we built through our automated outbound motion. So this covers everything. So as you can see here, I have this whole workflow. This is going to be a longer video, so I recommend taking notes throughout this video. I will be covering a lot of and more advanced topics in this video. So if you're a CRO or you're part of a go-to-market team or you're part of the sales team, if you listen to everything I covered in this video and follow it step by step, you are going to have a winning automated go-to-market playbook and motion in place. You will start getting results from cold email. You will start getting results from your LinkedIn outreach. You'll just know what to do. And you're going to have a really good groundwork for actually making any adjustments to what you're currently doing and doing it in a cost-effective and just in general effective way, right? It's going to take much less time for you to try to figure out on your own versus just following everything I lay out in this video. I could charge a course for this video, to be honest, but I want to cover everything here today. And I'm probably not going to be sharing this video anywhere else other than this dedicated tele video that I have for you guys. So I definitely recommend saving this. And if you're a B2B company, eventually looking to potentially just offload to someone else, of course, feel free to speak with us. I'll leave a link below for a sign-in for a free email campaign with us. Feel free to book that whenever you're ready. I know things take time and you might want to try to build this out for yourself internally. But anyways, let's just dive into it. We're going to be starting with research and development. When it comes to research and development, we're going to be developing our knowledge base, our source of truth for developing our outbound campaigns. We can't do anything else until we have this in place, right? We can't start developing any messaging or go about our list building. We need to actually lay the groundwork on and develop a thesis on what we're even trying to do here, right? So starting off, first, what we need to do is for us, we're a go-to-market agency. We have clients to fill out an onboarding form. You might even want to just write out on your own, just kind of like, okay, who's your market? Who are your ideal customers? What's your offer? Just general information. If maybe you just don't feel like doing that, you can have ChatGPT. I like to use O3. It's probably the most powerful research model that I know of. I know Perplexity is good too, but O3 is really powerful. What I would do is I would just go to O3 and have it generate a company and market analysis for your company, right? Make it just do like extended thinking, let it run, and just give it everything you can. Of course, you could prompt it further. Your prompt is like give you whatever information, like it was the market, what's your offer, all that. Once you have the information, you're gonna feed the LLM all your relevant company data. So everything you have on your company, all your assets, just feed it to the LLM. Beyond this point is where we're gonna start mapping our TAM and outlining our ICP. So first, typically want to start with mapping your TAM. What we're gonna do here, so I have a tool listed here. It's called Disco-like. You could use it if you want to for mapping your TAM. Essentially what it does is you can put in a lookalike for your company or whatever companies, and it'll do a better job at finding all the available companies that you can reach out to versus like Apollo, because it doesn't source data from LinkedIn. It sources data from just Google in general, right? So you're gonna get a lot more websites and get a better gauge of like how large your TAM actually is. Within this, once we actually start mapping our TAM, we're gonna uncover all the viable industry segments. So these are just like the different industries you can work with, whether it's like construction, logistics, manufacturing. Who can you actually work with? AI typically, in some cases, will give you industries that you weren't aware that you were able to work with, right? So we want to uncover those. And then we want to just scope out the base filtering requirements. So easiest way to go about this is just go to Apollo and do like a minimum employee count. Type in like the keywords you want for the type of companies you want to reach out to. And you can get a general gauge from there on how many companies you have available for your total addressable market. Now we're gonna start outlining our ICP. And the simplest way to put this is ask yourself what makes a customer a best fit to buy. So you can ask yourself or your sales team, what are common traits that the people who buy from you or your best customers or clients, what do they have in common? So is that a team structure? Do they have a certain number of salespeople or marketing people or, HR people? What is the ideal team structure that they have that makes them sort of most likely to be a good client for you and more likely to buy? Buying signals. So if someone's to want to purchase your software or your product or your service, what's kind of happening within the company? Are they hiring? Are they losing employees? From the people you speak with on sales calls, get a gauge of sort of what situation are they in when they come to buy from you, right? Job titles. So, whoever you speak to on these calls, who's the most relevant? Technology stack. So what tech do you typically want them to have in place? Like, is it Shopify or is it HubSpot? Get a gauge of what tech they need or ideally should have to work with you or purchase your product. Common pain points are kind of like getting engaged on what you're hearing consistently on these sales calls. Like, are they having an issue with, marketing budget, or are they just not getting ROI from the ads? And then past client case studies. So looking at your past case studies and starting to develop a sort of lookalike list around that in terms of the ICPs who have been best case studies for you guys. So I'll outline all this ICP data and use them as points for account scoring when we actually start building our lead lists. All right. Once we have all this information, we'll store this. We like to store in ClickUp. That's our main sort of like project management system. Doesn't matter where you store it, but we like using ClickUp. Develop the lead list from the available industries you have, and then also the ICP data that we just collected, right? So once we have this, we can start developing both our lists and our messaging. I like to typically start with the list first, because before I dive into messaging, I might have a concept in my mind of what list I want. Because of course we're here, right? We've outlined it all. So off this information, we can start developing our lists. The thing is, sometimes we don't have our perfect list in mind, but in practicality, when we start developing the lead list, it just doesn't work out in practicality. Maybe you build a list and it has like 10 people because your ICP criteria scoring is just so strict, right? So we need to actually see what's possible. That's why I like to start with the lead list first. So off to the list building. What we're gonna do next is we need to decide on a segment we want to target first. So we don't want to do multiple segments at one time, because we want to make sure our campaigns are targeted, right? Because if we have a giant list of just all available industry companies that you can work with, then the messaging is going to be broad, unless you're like using AI, but you don't, it just over complexifies things, right? It's better to start with one segment and then work off that, developing the specific messaging for that, etc. So with this one segment, we're going to go back to O3 and we're going to have GPT search for like where are the best fit databases for the segment that we're going after, right? And these are essentially the 4 main places that we'd find approach any segment ever. Online directories. So this is going to be a much more niche place to scrape from. This is only really necessary if like you're looking for a very niche data set. So for example, we have a client who specifically wants to work with just architectural firms that are part of the American Institute of Architects Association. So this is very specific. So what we had to do is we had to go to the American Institute of Architects Association. They go to the website, find the directory within the website of all the companies that are a member, and then scrape all of those companies and then reach out. So niche cases like that, online directories are phenomenal. If you're able to find an online directory that you can scrape from, it's just going to give you much more niche data, which typically is better data, right? Next is going to be Google Maps. So if you're targeting local, this is going to be most relevant for you. You're going to find significantly more data on Google Maps for local businesses versus if you were to go to Apollo or ZoomInfo, because a lot of these local businesses, they're just not on LinkedIn. And Apollo and ZoomInfo, they source their data from LinkedIn, right? So, like Jerry's Donuts down the street is likely not going to create a LinkedIn profile for their business, but they're most likely going to have a website, right? Or a phone number at least. And on Google Maps, you can find that information. Next is going to be account database. So this is going to be like your Crunchbases or your BuiltWiths or Store Leads or your Seamless.ai's or your Shovels.ai's. This is where there's databases built for specific use cases. Like for BuiltWith, it's finding companies that have a specific technology. For Crunchbase, finding companies that maybe have funding of some sort. And then like Clutch.clo, trying to find agencies, and Store Leads provide e-commerce brands. GPT will help you to find these databases pretty easily. Only thing with these is that they're typically a lot more expensive. So you're going to have to, I would say I'd recommend these if you're a type of company that really only goes after one vertical. In that case, it's worth to invest in a database that has really rich data in that specific vertical. Otherwise, if you're more broad, it does get expensive if you have to pay for multiple of these databases. So it's up to you, whatever your budget is available. But of course, if you have access to them, that's phenomenal. Finally, Apollo.io. Anyone can do this. Just search up your company search in Apollo. You can sign up for a free account, and you don't even need to pay for Apollo to be able to scrape it. So sign up for a free account, run your search. There's going to be a few filters if you're using the free account that you won't be able to have access to. You can just pay for it. You can do the base plan. It's like $50 a month. But this is going to be this is going to be the cheapest paid database option. Let's just go with Apollo. It's also going to be the easiest for most, right? And in the future steps, using just Apollo to build your initial list is completely fine, because the future steps will go through qualification, and within the qualification, we'll be able to really refine the list. And I'll kind of show some ways on how just through Apollo, you can actually make a really accurate list, or not really accurate, but more targeted list than most people know how to make within Apollo. So once you kind of selected which directory or database makes most sense for you, we'll go ahead and scrape it or export. You go to Appify. Appify typically is a scraper, depending on the use case. Or like for online directories in Google Maps, you can use Instant Data Scraper or Appify or Clay to pull data from Google Maps. Count databases, probably the export and pay for. Follow.io, you can use a scraper on Appify. Well, funnily enough, like yesterday, the Apollo scrapers on Appify just got banned, but there's Apollo scrapers out there that you can go to that have websites and you can actually use still. Once we have the company list, we're going to import that company list into Apollo.io, and we're going to go ahead and find the best fit personas within Apollo. There's two ways we go about this. First way, simple way, we can just use their filters that they already have and filter by seniority and function. This is going to give you a more broad, but likely less accurate list. If you're looking to go for very specific job titles, I'd recommend doing this. Using Claude to generate keywords around a specific job title that you're looking for, and then plugging that into the filter. They have a keywords filter section that you can just, if you comma separate it, you can just plug in as many keywords as you want. And that's typically going to give you the most accurate targeting for that. Once we have that list in Apollo, use custom scraper. I was using Appify, but there's if you search up Apollo scraper on the internet, you're going to find one. So just use one of those. Highly recommend using it because obviously it's 1,000x cheaper than Apollo. Apollo's, the pricing is stupid. Way too expensive for what you get. Once we have that list, we're going to import that into Clay. So you are going to sign up for Clay. I recommend signing up for the $300 per month plan. Below this, I'll share my referral link for Clay so you can sign up. It'll give you 3,000 free credits, but just I know a lot of people are kind of skeptical of Clay sometimes because of how like maybe pricey people consider it to be, but you don't have to use the Clay credits. Clay credits are very expensive. You can just connect your APIs, which I'll touch on a bit more, but using APIs within Clay is going to make your Clay experience much cheaper versus using the direct credits. Because if you use the direct credits, they'll get very pricey. We're going to import the list into Clay for mentorship plus qualification. This is essential. If you're not doing this, I mean, you're just kind of behind as a go-to-market team or as a sales agency, right? You need to be doing this. And the investment of $300 per month is 1,000% worth. From here, we're going to gather all the relevant company data because what we're going to do now, what we're going to do first is actually the qualification. And for qualification, what we're going to need is we're going to need to generate or gather as much data as possible using Claygen to generate a company analysis. What that's going to do, so Claygen is essentially a AI web researcher tool. And what it can do is you can set up like O4 Mini to go check out a website and generate a full description of the company, what they do, etc. You can also use tools like Appify, Zemros, or Serper to just like pull a full, just like all the text on the website and just put it into a column. It's kind of overkill sometimes, but it is like technically cheaper. And then also, if you want to, you can use Lead Magic to pull any missing company data that you originally scraped from the Apollo list. And that can help, like if a website's missing, certain other data points are missing, Lead Magic can find that. For all the data that we were able to pull, we're going to use AI. We're going to use GPT-4o Mini. We're not going to use the Claygen model. We're just going to use the typical text model to analyze all the information we pulled and then qualify for ICP. So any list that we build, we actually generate a prompt on what the ICP is that we're targeting. We have like our general prompt framework. I can maybe share that below in the description. But essentially what we're doing in that prompt is we're outlining exactly what the ICP is, like what it for sure is. Like when AI is analyzing the websites, if it's seeing certain points of data within it, that's for sure going to be ICP. And then we're also outlining like what is not the ICP for sure as well, which is arguably more important to make sure to let the AI know exactly what to exclude from what they see, right? And with the companies that we qualify, we'll enrich the contacts from those qualified companies. So these are two separate steps. So we're going to have a first table that's just qualifying the companies. Once that's enriched, or once the companies are qualified, then they'll trigger the contacts at these companies to be enriched. We don't want to enrich the qualified companies or the contacts at then qualified companies because that's obviously a waste of credits, right? So that's why we start with qualification and then enrichment, not the other way around. Our general waterfall is going to be ICPs to Prospeo, then Lead Magic. ICPs we like to put on the front end because it's the cheapest. Prospeo and Lead Magic are both really, really good. So we like to put those on the back end if ICPs is not able to pick anything else up. And then we like to verify Lead Magic because the Lead Magic verification is great and it's also cheap. So that works. And then once we have the fully qualified and enriched list, we're going to import that data into Email Bison, which is our sequencer. They like to do it via the API. I mean, you could just export it, but they like to just do it through API, which is nice. Now, diving into the messaging side of things, since we covered the list building. So messaging can be pretty simple because a lot of the messaging is built within the list, right? Because if we have a refined list, like as I've covered in these steps above, this process is very thorough, right? We're doing a lot of qualification, and we're doing everything on the front end to make sure the initial list we generate is as accurate as possible, right? So with this list that we developed, we're going to have a very refined ICP here. And with that refined list, which is ideally just one persona, we can write an email that speaks directly to that one persona. So in the beginning of our messaging phase, the most important thing we all know is an offer, right? So first thing we want to do is we want to craft an offer for that specific ICP company/persona, right? So there's 3 types of offers. Like I would say these are like more like, but specifically cold messaging offers that we can leverage within our email copy. First thing is to be a sales asset. So this is something that's probably the easiest thing to do, which is like share a case study deck, share a playbook, or share some sort of white paper on your service. I like to use sales assets if you already have a really great offer that doesn't really need to be changed much, that to sell to traffic. I like to just share a sales asset that kind of further gives context to the prospect you're reaching out to, and also establishes trust and expertise in your business, right? So sales assets are great. Things like this, like the way you pitch this in your copy is like, hey, mind if I share this case study explaining how we do XYZ thing for company, or mind if I share the playbook we used to generate a result, or mind if I share a white paper on how our tool works. These are some examples, and I like to always share some point of value before hopping on a call with the prospect, because that's going to make that call go much better. They're going to be much more informed, and they're all going to be a bit more sold before hopping on a call with you. Because the thing is, when we're dealing with cold traffic, these people don't know who you are. You're a complete random stranger. They're not looking to put a ton of effort into researching you. So you need to go out of your way to inform them and to establish trust with them through your work, right? Through a sales asset. Another type of offer is going to be a front offer. So what's a front offer? This is something that's specifically built for cold traffic. In this case, cold outreach. And examples of this is, so your front offer is not your main offer, right? Your main offer might be some sort of like $5,000 to $8,000 per month marketing service. Selling a $5,000, $8,000 per month marketing service to cold traffic is typically pretty hard. So we want to make this easier for ourselves. So we're going to sell some sort of lower barrier to entry offer where it's like, hey, I'll build you let's say for example, you're an email marketing agency. Hey, I'll build you this email work or email welcome flow for like $500, and I'll rework some of your other flows and whatnot. So it's like creating something that's really easy to kind of buy into, and then upselling them on your main offer. But essentially you want to give them like a really good deal, right? So, or another example is like let's say for a cold email, right? Be like, hey, for $100, I'll set up a full cold email system for you, done for you. Make it super easy. I mean, in that case, we're probably losing, but the goal is to like kind of how ads works. There's a cost to acquiring customers. It's your CAC. So you losing money on the front end to acquire a customer is just attributing to your CAC as you would be spending with ads. Then free trial or sample. So this is just giving something away for free completely, right? So you're running like an ad creative agency, giving a few free ad creatives that your team makes for the prospect specifically. Or in our example, offering a free email campaign, right? You're going to get the most leads through this. I mean, obviously speaking from direct experience working with clients, and then doing this ourselves, this brings in the most traffic, the most leads, and also establishes a lot of trust in the front end, right? Because when you offer something for free and you do a really good job at it, that establishes so much trust, right? It establishes so much trust. The thing is, you want to make sure when you're offering this, you don't come off as maybe like desperate or anything like that, because sometimes people take free things for granted. So you want to establish when you're offering stuff for free that the point of this is to move into a paid engagement, not just to give things for free, right? Because you're some sort of philanthropist. You're doing this because you're looking to work for work with the company that you're reaching out to, and you're so confident in getting results for them that you're willing to do it for free first, right? So it's not a point. You don't want to like come off with the frame of like, oh, I'll do this for free for you. Like, please do your business. It's more like, hey, I'll do this for free for you at first because we're so confident getting results to you that I know once we show you our work for free, that you're going to want to pay us. That's the sort of framework you want to come out with. But yeah, samples work really well. It's like a free ad creative, free email campaign, things like that. That all works really well. Once you've decided upon a offer we want to run with, or a few offers we want to test, Then we'll start developing our messaging angles. So it's gonna be a little bit different than the offers because this is how we're gonna write the angle we're gonna write our scripts around, right? These are kind of like the 5 main angles that we typically run with. So first one's gonna be a pain point. So mentioning some sort of specific pain point for that specific persona, and then tying that into the offer that we've developed. So for example, it's saying, hey, I noticed that you don't have a welcome flow set up. We'd be willing to set up a free welcome flow for your business. Would you be interested? Something like that. Or let's say, hey, I saw you recently lost a key C-suite at your company. We source C-suite roles within 7 days. Interested in seeing some candidates. Another example. Case study. So I like to use this. This is really powerful if you have really good social proof. So if you've worked with some big companies and you're targeting a specific segment, mentioning those companies that are relevant to that specific segment that are well known is very powerful, especially if it's a good case study. This really works pretty consistently, to be honest. I mean, it's always worked for us really well. And this pairs really well with the sales asset approach, like sharing the case study deck or the playbook that you use to do that result, right? Next being no-brainer offer. So this is going to work well with like the free trial or the front offer. So this is essentially where you're writing the email completely around this offer. Like this is a super short email. It's like, hey, we're willing to, create a free email campaign targeting 5,000 leads for your company. Would you be interested? And that's what we do, and it works, right? So just writing the email completely around the offer itself. That's essentially it. So if you're running an offer that is really good, just write the email around it. Don't even need to add any other context. Just boom, that. Unique data point, call out. So this is like if we're scraping unique data points, so like things around their ads or things around their search behavior or SEO or keyword ranking, things like that. That's where you can call a unique data point and then tie that into the offer somehow, right? So it's like, hey, I see XYZ competitors are ranking above you. We just put together an SEO strategy on how you can, rank above them within the next 3 months. Would you be interested in learning more? Something like that. And then unique insights. So this is essentially sharing something that's specific to their industry and maybe their specific role. An example of this is we ran this for an influencer marketing client who we were targeting the healthcare industry. And one thing we mentioned was how on TikTok, the algorithm favored educational based content, and that we could run, organic influencer content around educating the market on certain healthcare solutions, right? To establish more trust with some of these healthcare providers. So those are all a few different angles. And what we want to do is we just want to write out base angles around this, right? So just develop the base ideas around each of these different angles. And we want to feed this into AI, particularly Claude. I like to use Claude. I think Claude's the best for any sort of copywriting. Feed the angles into Claude. I have a prompt for script writing. I can share that below as well that you can use to plug this information into. And then from there, Claude's going to generate some A/B test email scripts. It might generate a lot, depending on how many different angles you want to do. We also like to, in the prompt, we like to feed context on past winning script frameworks that we've used, to give it more of a groundwork to actually build upon. Because if you don't give it a groundwork, it's just going to write some long mess, even if you give it a lot of good context. And then once AI has generated the emails, you want to review and edit it, right? Most cases, just using the AI script route, just no edits, there's going to be errors, right? It's going to sound kind of robotic. Of course, you can prompt it really well and get to a point where it's pretty good. But I like to review it by hand and make edits to it by hand versus just relying on AI completely, right? Because I have my own set of expertise, and then you might have your own sort of flair you want to add to the emails or, scripting style you want to do. So I always recommend editing it by hand before fire. Once you have the scripts, of course, add the finalized A/B scripts to email Bison and just let it fire. Now, diving into the automated outbound motion. Before I dive into that, actually, I'm going to cover the email structure very quickly. So the email infrastructure that we're going to be using, very simple. We source secondary domains from Portbun. Don't use your main domain, use secondary domains. Just buy them for Portbun. You can use .com, .co, you can use .info. .info domains are really cheap. The thing is, I think the longevity on them are not as good as .com and .co. But at first launch, .info can actually work pretty well. With the secondary domains, we of course want to, we use inbox resellers. I mean, you can set up email accounts directly through Google and Microsoft if you want to, but it's a lot more expensive. And working with inbox resellers, I mean, the quality's been good. So we use Scaled Mail. We've been testing out Hypertide and a few others, but I'd say for sure working with Scaled Mail is going to be a great provider for you. I trust all of our client bases on them at the moment, so definitely recommend checking them out. I'll probably leave a description to them in the link below, or in the description below. The allotment ESPs we're going to be using is going to be Google, Microsoft, and SMTP. The typical sort of ratio is going to be 40% Google, 40% Microsoft Azure, and then 20% SMTP. We like to diversify as much as possible. We add 20% SMTP on the back end, or on top of the Microsoft and Google, because it's cheap and it typically doesn't get affected by any sort of bans. Because I know Microsoft and Google, they have their biannual ban wave or algo update that can hurt deliverability. So we want to have a backend that's not reliant on any of these. But this has kind of been a safe, reliable structure that's allowed us to, not go all in and rely on just one ESP and remain safe. We also like to set up a second batch email accounts on top of the ones that we have to be able to replace the email accounts that ever get banned or blacklisted. So with the email infrastructure on the way, let's actually dive into the automated motion. This motion is going to all start with Email Bison. Email Bison is our favorite sequencer. You can use Smart Lead. I mean, the only one I'd rather really recommend is Smart Lead. I know Instantly, some people use Instantly. I personally don't use Instantly, but I was a big fan of Smart Lead back in the day. I think they're still great. It kind of depends on your case. Email Bison, it starts at $500 a month. It's meant for more high volume operations. If you're not looking to send more than 50,000 emails per month, I'd probably recommend just going with Smart Lead, which starts at like $97 a month. So choose your case. Email Bison's great, but Smart Lead's also great if you're not looking to go as extreme with it as most people, right? Or as, someone like us, right? Email Bison, we're going to have a few connections. So first one's going to be Clay. Within Clay, we're going to have it route to a few different things. So new campaigns that we develop within Email Bison, from the Clay table that we originally built on this lead list, we're actually going to push any of the high priority leads that were scored from the Clay table into HeyReach, which will then, that'll be the LinkedIn sequence that we start sending from. So we scrape our initial list, we should also get the LinkedIn accounts. And then, from those accounts that got scored as a high score, push the LinkedIn accounts into HeyReach and then start that one sequence. Email Bison and HeyReach will also both be connected to Outbound Sync, which Outbound Sync is a tool that can track attribution from outbound channels and then also add and update all leads that we generate from our outbound motions. And that's including email plus LinkedIn, right? I 100% recommend setting up with Outbound Sync. If you run a sales team, it's almost non-negotiable. If you're doing cold outbound and are using either HubSpot or Salesforce, it just makes sense. It makes everyone's lives a lot easier, and your team's going to be on top of leads so much better, right? It's going to lower the chance of missing out on any follow-up or any leads that we generate from outbound. Going back to this, so the other connection we'll have is to NAN, and within NAN, we're going to set up a workflow for reply scoring. So we're going to have AI score the leads that are replies from our outbound campaigns, depending on like if they're interested or if they're out of office, or if they want to be followed up without a different date. Any leads that are marked as interested, they'll be pushed to the Slack channel dedicated for responses. It will notify the sales team to immediately act on them as fast as possible. We'll, of course, have reply times set up so they can respond as fast as possible. For these interested leads, they'll also be pushed to HeyReach to be sent a connection request. And again, the sales rep will respond to all the positive leads that they are notified by. Those leads will also be pushed to a Beehive campaign. or any newsletter that you use. We like to use Beehive. But if you have an active B2B newsletter, pushing any leads that respond to the newsletter definitely helps as well, and we'll nurture those leads first. And then the final connection we'll have is going to be with Airtable. Airtable is going to be essentially our database for managing all the proprietary leads that we generate or that we use for the campaigns. So anytime we upload a list into Bison, it'll also be uploaded into Airtable and be added to our database. And we're just going to continuously add to that database over time. So then we can source lists from our own proprietary database depending on the segments that we're going after, if we've already worked with the segments before. It also allows us to visualize the campaign statistics and monitor our campaigns at scale across our client base. Going back to here, so once we generate leads from our campaigns, of course, they'll be pushed to HubSpot, Salesforce. But once we respond to the lead, we want to obviously try to schedule the sales meeting. If we haven't scheduled a sales meeting, they're going to be set for follow-up. Once we have scheduled the sales meeting, we want to set up pre-call reminders inside Calendly and nurture them from there. So I have a full video on this that you can check out on my LinkedIn or wherever. I probably won't share it here. But in this video, essentially what we're going to do is we're going to set multiple reminders to make sure that they actually show up to the meeting. You want to get pretty aggressive with this because the thing is, we're manually booking them onto our calendar. They're not coming inbound. We're reaching out to them and we're putting them on our calendar. So a lot of cases, they have a lot less incentive than if they were to come inbound. But also we want to just make sure they don't forget. They might just forget, to be honest, if they even booked that. So in that first email as well, what we want to do is we want to actually send an email immediately upon booking, which will share a VSL or case studies with the prospect for them to review before hopping the call. And that's going to really help them become a lot more warm when they hop on the call with us. Once we take our sales calls, we want to record with Fireflies, that information, that transcript that we added to our go-to-market knowledge base, which then will tie all the way back into our, I just dragged all the way, into our research and development phase. And will just help us continue to refine our go-to-market strategy with that information. It'll also be added as call notes to the CRM for additional context on the prospect. So when we do our follow-up, we can have that context in mind and write more personalized follow that's actually relevant to the prospect. We'll continue this loop until we actually get the closed deal. Once we close the deal, we will send over the proposal via PandaDoc, and that's the full thing. That's everything from the initial R&D, research and development, to the closed deal. I know I just dragged this all the way up. That's everything from just mapping out, okay, who are our customers? What do we actually want to offer them? To deals closed, right? And all the steps in between. So I know it's a lot. I ran through it pretty quickly, to be honest. I hope you found this video very useful. Again, as I said before, if you follow everything that I covered in this video, I can almost guarantee you with certainty that you will have a minimum viable product of a winning go-to-market motion in place for your company. You will be getting leads if you follow everything I covered in this video from cold email, from LinkedIn. So if you're a team that's kind of struggling to generate leads at the moment, 100% follow this. I know it's a lot, so if you don't want to do this yourself, of course, book in with me. Again, we're offering free cold email campaigns, so you can test out everything I just covered in this video for absolutely free at the link below. All you need to do is just fill out a form, walk through that form. It's going to prompt you to book a call with me. We'll chat with each other. Of course, we want you to be qualified. At the end of the day, we want this to be a paid partnership. So this is most relevant for companies that are above 1 million ARR and have a team of have a TAM of 30,000 prospects or more. If you don't fit that, then maybe I'll wait some time. Or if your TAM is just too small, then this whole entire method probably doesn't even make sense for you. But if you do fit that, definitely book in for a free cold email campaign with us. We'll get you situated. We'll develop the campaign for you. We have pre-warmed inboxes that are ready to fire within 48 hours. So we can get your testing right in pretty quickly. So you book in today, have a call tomorrow. We have whatever is said. We have campaigns firing within the next 4 to 5 days for you guys. So yeah, hope you found this useful. Bookmark this, do what you need to do, implement it. If you implement it and you have any questions, or you're looking to implement this and you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to help. If you implement this and it worked out for you, please DM me. I love to hear that. So yeah, again, hope you found this one useful. Cheers.